Hello, everyone. Welcome to ICC's Banter Blitz. I'm Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. This is our little monthly get-together for January, and I'll be taking on all comers in Blitz. So if you want to challenge me, set it to unrated, 3-minute, 2-second increment. That's what we play on Banter Blitz. So sorry about a little bit of a delay, but ready to get started now, and should be fun. Remember, it's always good to get me early, because I'm like that star pitcher that once he gets his groove going, it's going to be harder. My curveball has more bite and everything. So all right, so first up is Max. Sounds like Max, as in Maxwell, but it's actually Macks, Max. And so people who watch the show regularly know that I like to do some kind of crazy theme in the opening to just make it a little bit more interesting, because if I try overwhelm people with lots of grandmaster theory, that's kind of boring. So I try to do stuff a little bit strange, to maybe level the playing field, but also just to get something a little out of the ordinary. Sometimes these experiments really backfire, so you never know. That's why we play the games. It's interesting, my queen c2, provocative queen c2, entice my opponent to try to attack my queen by playing g6 and bishop f5. So it'll be interesting to see how black fits those moves together, because it's perhaps a slightly unusual fit here. All right, do a little counting. Yeah, got enough to do this. So we'll see where the bishop goes. It doesn't really have a natural square to go to from here. He takes it. But after the bishop moves away, then there's no pressure on e4, so I can move my knight from d2 and get things going. Maybe we'll see if I grab the bishop pair. Black, in some sense, doesn't mind that so much because the bishop doesn't have great square, but I'll take it because it's then you have a long-term advantage. All right, well, now the bishop went all the way back, so that's fine with me too. As now, I'm just going to start with rook d1, so I'll be flexible about where this knight can go. Yeah, now he's not going to connect his rooks very quickly. Yeah, this was my thought, that I wanted to coax that queen to go to c7 to leave, because now I want to pick up a tempo with bishop f4, and unlike what my opponent did, he most likely won't be able to block that with e5. So I'm going to be picking up some time, and I think that's actually probably a big mistake, because he runs into bishop f4, and one thing that I always preach is that whatever move you're thinking about, you should always look at your opponent's forcing moves to determine that your move is going to be safe. So if your opponent has a move is setting up a move like bishop f4 attacking the queen, then yeah, so e5, I think he has to play that. Otherwise, otherwise his queen is trapped. Rook takes d1, rook takes d1. The queen is actually trapped. I was thinking I'm just getting to d8. But okay, so now I can grab, I think I'll take with the bishop. Because if I take with the knight, the queen can move out of the way anyway. So I think that this is more efficient. He could take on d1. I don't know if it makes a huge amount of difference. So bishop d6, queen e6 doesn't really do that much. I think I'll trade. And I guess I'll just make the obvious rook d1, yada, yada, yada. And what do I do next? Bishop d6, he might actually take a pawn. Knight d6, I don't find that so overwhelming. You know, I'm actually, what am I going to do? I'm just going to move my knight to e3. It looks like a strange move, but the knight is hanging on that square, so I'm just moving it to a safe square. And because bishop d6, queen, yeah, because I can't really move my bishop yet. So I was anticipating bishop e6, and then I could play bishop d7. But okay, now I can play, I think I'll just trade, actually. See, I might even return now because I'm pretty happy to get rid of that. I think actually gonna play queen d3. I'm gonna look to hit some of those dark squares. I was also thinking of just coming back to c4 with the knight. I could have played queen d2, but then I have to think about what happens if he takes the pawn on e4. All right, check. Hoping this is slightly awkward for black. And now let's get on those dark squares. The exchange of the fianchetto bishop sometimes is more of a problem when that e-pawn's gone. Yeah, very logical, but the problem is this happens. This is a knockout. Yeah, so when he traded the bishops, I jumped right on those dark squares. You know, because he wasn't really well mobilized, it was particularly hard for him to deal with. So that's going to be my next move. But solid game by Max. Yeah, really that bishop f4 was just a death blow. I mean, he made a natural-looking move, rook d8, but you know, because his rooks weren't connected, he was very vulnerable to that bishop f4 move, and that was really a pretty crushing blow. So thanks, Max, and we're up to J. Russell 2, one of my regulars. Take it away, J. Russell. Okay. He prevented queen c7. I was tempted to play my queen to some other random square. Yeah, there is this kind of bishop f4 epidemic. I'm not so sure that I'm, you know, so happy to see it just so, you know, ubiquitously played almost no matter what. You know, to some degree, it makes life a little bit easier for some players, but so now the pawn goes to e4. Okay. So I'm playing with very fast queenside mobilization. Who knows what that's going to be about? All right. I moved the glue pawn. I always tell the kids not to do this. Don't do this at home, you know. But there I go. Because I just want to defend that pawn on e5 and also safeguard my bishop on e6. And the pieces will come out normally enough. Take a few liberties here. A5 is just one of these generic moves to prepare to bring a piece to c5, either the bishop or the knight is, you know, going to be better guarded on that square. Prevent him from playing b4. See, knight b3 attacks my bishop, but I think he's better off using the c4 square with either the bishop or the knight, because the knight is kind of awkward on b3, and I could kick it away at any time. So you have a piece on a square, it's not really attacking anything, and it can be knocked back at any time. Yeah, so he decides to kind of try to correct that. I mean, there's still time. It's not like anything major happened, but yeah. Okay, bring this guy back. Yeah, it sounds like he was listening to me. Yeah, actually, I didn't really prepare for that well because I don't really. I don't really want to take him. Yeah, I think he had B4 there. I think B4 might have won material, and then when I take on C4, take on C5. I actually kind of saw that. I was going to given him a little chance there. You know, I might have lost 2 pieces for rook and pawn or something like that. Still, his position is perfectly reasonable. Although, one thing I've got going for me is bishop on G3 is really shut out. It's what they call biting on granite. This pawn on E5 protected by my pawn on F6. So the bishop is never going to break through that, and he has some trouble getting it out of there. This is intriguing. I can take this knight. Of course, the bishop is now not totally locked in, but on the other hand, it's got no place to go once it gets out. And I think that's going to be a problem for him. All right, so let me just sort of tickle that pawn. Also just preventing B4, because now I want to come this way. And he can't even really trade off the rooks if he wants to now. Yeah, this is a big positional disadvantage. The pawn on E4 is not easy at all to defend. I've got actually now my knights are in really good position. So it's kind of formation where you see a lot of grandmasters would have thought about at some point moving the knight from F3 and playing F3 and then bringing the bishop back to F2. You know, because sometimes you have a piece that's on the sidelines and you don't deal with it for a while, then you end up never really having a good way to deal with it. So now we have a position, I think white is in big danger of losing the E4 pawn within the next few moves. B4, okay, but I can just take this guy, take that guy. Everything is protected. Everything. Everything is still protected. The knights protect each other. They protect everything around there. C3 is hit now with a potential fork. Everything is awesome. It's Queen B3 check, but it doesn't do anything. I did kind of forget about that, but it's harmless. Queen takes C3. Why not? Give me another. It's a matter of technique. I come off to the side because I keep the B5 pawn protected. So I decentralize and decentralize again to go after the A pawn. And re-centralize. Just a lot of good moves here. Yeah, he's ran out of time. I get a thank you from Jay Russell too. It's always quite kind after our games. And here, next up is Audiamus. I want everybody to know that tomorrow I'll be doing a live recap of the action from Vikense from Tata Steel for rounds 8 and 9, and we'll be getting it started tomorrow at 3:30 ICC time or Eastern time in the US, and that should be fun. So join me for that. If you guys watch my my weekly recap, you kind of know my style, so should be fun. So far, I kind of suspected that this would be leading to a lot of sort of normal-looking King's Indian attack type positions, but White kind of committing to an early Queen C2, which is not necessarily the most natural way to play, but excuse me. So imagine I'm kicking that bishop back. If I get to take it, I'm very happy. That's a very important piece for White. Now, can I hazard F4 here? It's thematic, but I don't know. I don't know if my position is really supporting it. On the other hand, I'm not sure what else to do. Tick tock, tick tock. Well, yeah, okay. I'm not sure if it's really that dangerous for me if he tries to bring his knight to E3, because maybe he can't support it that well. Unlike in the Mar del Plata, where there's like a knight on E7 for black when the knight tries to come to E6, I've kind of uncluttered that middle, so maybe I can just surround a pawn if it comes to E3. Okay, we'll get to find out. So I come back. I don't know if it's a really big threat for him to take me, but I do really want to find out. Also, question is, do I want to play F5? Well, I'm sort of threatening the E5 pawn now. So another question is, should black take on F4? And if he takes on F4, how should I recapture? Of course, the pawn takes is standard operating procedure in the King's Indian, as every Russian schoolboy knows. We should all know about what every Russian schoolboy knows from Alex Yermolinsky. So I'm going to be like a Russian schoolboy. I don't know if that's necessarily the right move, but that's what I'll go for. I don't want to be in a hurry to take on D4, because if that knight does come into E3, I want to have that pawn on C3 to keep center safeguarded. All right. All right, I'm going to put the question to the knight here. Of course, yeah, he can go back, and he does. All right. Well, I still don't really want to take that guy. I don't really want to play E5, but I'm going to do this just because it's simpler. Sometimes you do things just so you can make a lot of quick moves. Like that. I don't necessarily think that's the right way for White to play the position, but I'm just simplifying because the last couple of moves, my opponent has burned a lot of clock, so now I have a big edge on the clock. So if I could keep making quick moves. That's to my advantage. I mean, it is a blitz game after all, and you know, you play to win the game. King. I'm not sure if that's better there or whatever. All right, to see what he's up to. Okay. He wants B5. All right. Oh, changing his mind. Changing his mind. Maybe. All right. You get a protected passed pawn, but the cost would be his bishop, which is pretty strong, so he doesn't really want to do that so much. So I kind of like trading off that bishop, which wasn't doing all that much for me. Oh, I forgot about that maneuver. That was, oh, but then he moves it away. Why did he do that? He's going to come back, I guess. He's playing this quite well, actually. Kudos to Audiamos. Might go down, but not without a fight. For sure. But like I said, you know, it's a blitz game. And sometimes when I'm not really sure what to do, I just, you know, oh, wow. I totally missed that idea. So I'm going to be down some material. Oh my goodness. I didn't notice that he was attacking my queen. I almost moved my knight and hung my queen. So this is an endgame. I'm down exchange, but you know, I have a lot of play for it, and you know, most likely, given that my opponent's so low on time, it's going to be very hard for him to survive. But I am down. I am down in exchange. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But maybe it's a good position for me anyway. I took that pawn. I got that protected, and yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty difficult position for black. Maybe. What's going on? Okay. Well, he's making some good maneuvers here. Well, he's not going down without a fight here. I think one of those guys will get through. I'm hoping. Okay, now I have his rook tied down. I don't think he's going to get it. Ooh, I don't think he's going to get it out of there. I have knight a6 coming. Yeah, okay. That's not going to help him, I don't think. I'll just keep that passed pawn close to me. I ran out of time. Yeah, I think it's a winning position for white. All right, that was a very challenging game. And even though I blundered the exchange, I just played in a way that was just going to be easy position for me to play. Just play like a blitz game. Sometimes I keep looking for something very, very clever to do, and then I just run out of time, and then it gets really exciting. Okay, B4 from my old friend Ears. What's he up to? All right, so let's play with D5. It's a little bit different from all these D6 or D3 games I've been playing. All right. Finally, a little confrontation. I have a little tickle now. E4 is threatened, or bishop F3 in E4. I think I'm going to grab something. Well, the grabbing's good. Checkers. All right, let's have some fun here. It's cool, when you can play C6 and Queen C7 the first two moves and build up a quick attacking position. It's what I like about these games. You just never know what kind of direction they're going to go in. Recent development here at home is that my son has started watching my old Banter Blitz videos on YouTube, which is kind of cool. I have to say that before that, I had never actually watched any of them myself, so it was kind of interesting seeing what they were like. So, I don't know if I have a thread here. Iris is protesting my kingside attacking. All right, well, that's smacks of desperation. I will happy with my extra. I'll just castle and let him think about his shatter position. Okay, I'll do a little consolidating here. But I'm not quite done attacking. Not quite done. Maybe knight h5 and knight g3. Stuff you can do when you have an extra piece. Because I'm waiting for the knight to move from d2. Yeah, I guess I could have kept the bishop and done h4, h3, and then I could sack on g3 with the bishop. Now it's a little harder to see how I'm going to get a mate, but I am a piece up. It's okay. Get out, or come in and take my f7 pawn, but that's kind of a roach motel there. What's he up to? All right, let's sink this guy in, see if that does anything. Let's go for G5. Crack that open. Something's got to be happening over there. C3. Okay, I guess he wants to bring the queen over. I want to bring my queen too. It's good when everybody gets what they want. Yeah, it's going to be, I'm going to bring my rook. So I'm going to have 4 pieces attacking. Going to be hard for him to defend with more than 2. Okay, thanks, Ears. That was fun. Someday my son might watch that game on video. Yeah, he was watching some old video where I blundered a mate and won, and as he was getting to the end of the game, it started to get familiar, and I said, "Oh yeah, I think I blundered mate and won in this game." All right, so we got Nemono, who I think is a new opponent for me. It's good to have that mix of new guys for the fresh blood and the regulars. But you got to be ready when your number comes up. I know that some people might be watching the games from Viscount Zay, which I will be. But you see, if you don't watch them live now, I'll tell you everything that happened. Anything that interesting that happened today, I'll be telling you tomorrow. So I'll have you covered. Okay, Nemono was not ready to answer the bell. Game was aborted at inception. Okay, Gustavo 1234 or 1234, probably 1234. Tango Niner Bravo. Oh, but is he ready? Oh no, what's going on? People, what are they doing? They're challenging, then going away from their computer. What's yeah, I mean, in hindsight, maybe I should have scheduled this around the tournament, but we planned these schedules well in advance, and I didn't know that it would be an off date the day after. All right, what's going on? I seem to be frozen on the last game. Come on, came here for a contest. There we go. All right, now Juhanic, or Juhani K, I guess, because that K is capitalized. Well, what's going on? Everybody's aborting or resigning. He resigned. Buyer's remorse here, yeah. I'm not so scary. Get in the ring with me. Mr. Franz, okay. Ah, he's ready. He's ready. All righty. All right. Let's see. Let's do something different. So, for instance, black played e5 would be some kind of weird Caro-Kann reversed, where I have the extra move queen c2, which for black would be queen c7. Is that is that very useful? I mean, probably not very useful, but probably wouldn't be worse for than a Caro-Kann is for black. But certainly it looks like, black wants to take advantage of the queen on c2 in some way. Black can take the knight and double my pawns if he likes. It's not something I have to be hugely concerned about. So you take me, I'll bring that pawn to the center. Get some go on the H file, maybe. Yeah, I guess that was always in the air. Give me that B pawn. So it's, some kind of, queen pawn opening type thing. White not doing all that much in the opening, but, let's getting tangled up in the wires here. That's kind of how people play a lot these days, because it's so hard to beat your opponent with opening theory. Well, since knight on c6 is really contributing to the center, other than maybe supporting e5, it might be thought to play for c4 in this position for white. All right, so he wants e5. There's always knight e5. I'm not really knocked out by that. If he takes it with the bishop. See, he wants e5. Yeah, I think I'm gonna challenge him with c4 before he gets an e5, because otherwise he'll get some space. So this gives him something to think about. Knight e4. Very reasonable move. I guess I'll take it. Problem from Mr. Franz here is that he's burned a lot of clock time. He's played perfectly good moves, but kind of slow. Otherwise, he's doing pretty well in this position. I mean, if he takes my knight on f3, I'd probably have to take with the pawn. A lot of players like to take with the f pawn in that position. I don't think the f file is worth weakening the pawn structure. All right. Well, I mean, this is a position I have nothing, but I did start the game with c3 and queen c2, so I really shouldn't get a murderous attack playing c3 and queen c2. So just got a position. I have an extra minute on the clock. But yeah, Mr. Franz has played well here. Okay, so now I'm going to go for his queenside expansion. There's really no other plan that I see. Okay, so I don't know if c5 is such a big threat, but I'm making some progress here, I think. Getting some pressure going. Knight is looking at d6. And it's coming at a time when he's very low on the clock. Also, the a7 pawn is kind of hanging. So it's tough when you you wait around, then you finally start doing something when your opponent is very low on time, and it's, oh, see, I think that was the worst thing he could have done, because now knight d6 it just attacks the bishop as well as the rook. So he wanted to get the bishop to d5, which is a good idea, but he just didn't have time to do it. So he's gonna get to lose some material before he runs out of time. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Franz. That was a very tough game. It was only in the last 5 or 6 moves that I really had anything going. But that's okay. That's a perfectly reasonable way to play. Especially for those who are not, really that comfortable in sharp positions. Just keep playing, smart, solid moves, and then look for a plan in the middle game. Okay, so what now? Interesting. D4. I'm tempted to take it, but after queen takes, I don't really see how I can exploit that queen so easily. Well, I mean, there's some things I could try, but I don't know if I'd really succeed. Well, this is something I run into a lot. People try to out-weird me, and that's cool. That's cool. So if it's good for me, it's good for him, right? 11. I wonder if 11 those ears. He's doing that same kind of tactic there. So what's White's plan going to be? He's going to just develop stuff. He's going to try to play F4. I'm just waiting a little bit. I just have a feeling it's a good idea to get a little pressure on the E file in case that stuff gets opened up. And otherwise, knight A6. Maybe bishop B6, depending where his pieces go. Oh, 11 says quite well. Maybe this is Ears' alter ego. I'm just waiting. I'm doing a lot of waiting. I did that to prevent bishop G5, which wasn't really that important, but I just thought I'm waiting anyway. But now I'm hitting E4. Yeah, now I'm doing something here. Well, I did say I'm hitting E4. I was truthful. I was honest. And I think I can honestly say that I'm going to take E4 now. See, that's why grandmasters play moves like rook E8, because, somewhere down the line, there actually is something happening there. It's not always, sometimes the position is a little closed out of the opening. It's not always, going to be immediate action, but you just try to anticipate future events best you can. All right. One future event you can anticipate is that knight might come to D3 if there's something good in there. All right, well, he stopped it. I want to develop my bishop, but I've got some time to reflect here. I don't really want to play G5. It's kind of unnecessary to weaken that, I think. I'm just going to kind of wait. Let my opponent get an idea, Sometimes I like to do that. Yeah, I feel like I should do something clever here, but I don't think I am going to do something clever. But right now, I do have an extra pawn, which I am enjoying. Potential weakness on b3. Also, his knights are in fork position, but I don't see how I can move my knight out of the way. So, all right, I'll just make things happen here. If he takes my knight, I have a choice of pawn or knight. So I just sort of, knight is easy. I don't know about that move. It looks like it's pretty weakening. Maybe they're just going to take something. Yeah, if he takes back, I think I can just take the pawn, but I might not. Sometimes cure is worse than the disease. Okay, I missed that move. I did miss that move. And he's getting ready to hit me with a massive discover attack. Except I don't really see a massive discover attack, so I'm going to take that pawn. Back up. Attack 2 pieces. Eventually, this bishop is going to, on f8, is going to come out. Okay, finally. I've been trying to set that up for a long time. 11 is very well on time now. It's going to move super quick. Surprise quiet move. Oh, okay. He wasn't that surprised. Because I got that in 20 seconds. I got that flashing red light. I have to ask Sandro if there's a way to turn that off, because it is not at all helpful. It induces panic mode. All right, thanks, 11. I think the game where I hung in Mate and Wander is because the red thing started popping up, and I was like, ah. All right, so grinding them out today. Druido. All right, okay, that's a new one, I think, for me. Yeah, I mean, against this kind of thing, there's not that much else I can do but this. Well, I guess I could play kind of Philidors. Yeah, I could play Philidors. I don't think that I've had one yet today. A slight change from King's Indian attack. Not like a huge change, but a little different. All right, well, thing is, usually you want to stop for a5, or colors reverse stop for a4, because to not let this happen. Now, can they win a pawn? I'm going to try, because not only am I tempo ahead, being white instead of black, but also he played h6. So I feel like I should have time to grab this pawn in e5. Okay, doesn't change all that much. Still not entirely sure I'm taking that pawn. Let's see where he moves. if he moves to e7, it's probably easier to take the pawn because he can't counterattack on the e file. So he could consider going knight to b8. There is some slight problems from him on the d file. This queen is, well, it's not exactly trapped, but certainly is short of squares. Takes. So no, I think I'm not going to take this pawn, but what if I try to do some stuff here? Thought it was more natural to develop the knight, but I guess he wants to get out of that pin quicker. I like to put the knight in a3, but my bishop is already sitting there, you know, 1 square per customer. Okay. If he takes me, I think I've just taken the e5 pawn. Although knight d6 is also possible. Can take some pawn on the b file, but I think I just take back e5. So what else can you do? Bishop c7 is possible. Possible for sure. Then maybe knight d6. I don't really want to take on c6 and develop his knight. Oh. Yeah, that's, what's that? That's going to walk into anything to d6, but certainly bishop d6, I can take the e5 pawn. And now I'm going to take it in stride when all my pieces are developed instead of when all my pieces were back. You know, that's what, you know, low-rated players often do that. They grab the pawn early and they don't have the pieces to support it. So it feels like I'm getting a lot of knight d6s in today. It's the move of the day, and it's, as Demi Lovato says, it gets worse because he has to move the queen onto the d file, and so Druido says no mas. Although queen d7, I may only be winning exchange, but okay, exchange and the pawn and a lot of other good stuff. So fair enough. Thank you, Druido. So far, so good. I'm trying to slam dunk everybody like Porzingis. Actually, I'm a little sleepy today because the Rangers and the Knicks were both playing on the West Coast, and I held out hope that they might actually win. Well, not so much for the Knicks, but so I watched these games that were going concurrently, and both of them came out badly, and you know, I just stayed up to 1 o'clock for no reason, really. Give everybody a shot. All right. Somebody step up to the plate. So we've got some mild weather in the Northeast. Ears is looking to jump in again. It's about 40 degrees today. We've had some strange weather. We've had some, you know, the snowstorms, freezing cold, and then we've had super warm days and rainy, very warm rain, and just like obliterated all the snow everywhere. Ears gets another shot. And he gets white again, too. How did he manage that? So I'm actually, well, I should give some kind of credit. This, you know, D6, C6, and Queen C7. Actually, there's a player in New York City that has been, you know, playing that in, you know, somewhat serious games, and that would be Asa Hoffman, who's very well known especially to people in the New York area, and he called it the ace of defense. And who am I to challenge that? I don't believe it has any other name, so I'm good with calling it the ace of defense. So I don't think that Ace is watching right now, but probably somebody will tell him about it. That I unfurled the ace of defense for Blitz on the ICC. Because I've had many conversations with Ace about offbeat openings, because we both kind of fond of, or at least intrigued by them. So we've swapped some thoughts on that. So mostly I'm just developing the pieces. I'm not really looking to do anything in the center. Sometimes, you just play that waiting game for a while. And he is not in a rush to do anything. Now, of course, if he doesn't stop b5. Okay. Well, he kind of blinked a little bit there. Now, my bishop isn't really all that good, but I'm going to keep it because I like the bishop opposite the queen. And I also like keeping the white position a little cluttered with pieces in the middle. Yeah, like now the knight doesn't have its normal square. And well, it feels like this should be a good move if there's pin action there. Because white doesn't really have a good way of resolving this situation, I think. Could try knight g4. I'm not sure that even threatens anything. So, I don't even necessarily have to be taking anything in the middle. If I get time to put my rooks in the middle, then when I open up, definitely have something against this queen. So, yeah, the position got very awkward for black in the last two moves. If you wanted to move the knight, it would definitely more ideal to move it to h4. And in that case, I was prepared to even let him take the bishop with his knight. All right. Well, there's probably other things I can do, but I think just putting this rook in the middle opposite the queen is definitely going to be impactful. Not easy for white to untangle. Right. Okay, now I start thinking a little concretely. I can make a lot of exchanges on the e file, and then take on d4. Or I could take on d4 even right away. That seemed maybe more forcing. And then blah 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 blah. Yeah, I think that wins material. So I just take. It's got to take back because he's forked. But now I think if he takes back, there's going to be a discovery with the knight. So the new rook a d8 would be setting up something. I didn't have to worry too much about what exactly the threat was, but just, when you have rook opposite a queen on a file that's potentially open, it usually leads to something good. It's just good fundamentals. Yeah. And now take this guy. I don't know, for some reason I feel safer doing it with the bishop. I don't think it makes a difference. And I don't think he has an answer to that. Can't defend the bishop. And this could get worse too. Bishop c5 is threatened along with the bishop. Here it comes. It gets worse. Checkers. Ears, I'm sorry to do this to you. It's no way to treat a friend, I know, but it's my job. That's what I'm here for. All righty. Let's see what we got out there. We earlier we had some people get worse. Earlier we had some people challenging, and then they weren't there to answer the bell. There's kind of some new names. I don't know if they got distracted, but I don't know. Let's see. I know that the some people watching the games from I don't know if Magnus Carlsen is up to something now or whatever. But, I looked at saw the picture of the opening. I was wondering if he was overdoing it. But I have a feeling it's a game I'll be talking about tomorrow. The thing about Carlsen is that he is very good at these, quiet positions, but also he has a lot of days where he just decides he really wants to win, and he just, he takes a lot of risks. He takes risks in a different kind of way, let's say, than Kasparov would play, sharp openings and risk a theoretical battle. He, just tries to unbalance, but he, takes chances at these times. All right, well, okay, Samurai is up, and I'm not entirely sure if he just wants to fiend counter the bishop, or also he likes to have his bishop f5, but with that bishop f5 at the ready, I decide that maybe I want to keep my d pawn back. All right, so we got another King's Indian attack. So I guess with white, the games have generally kind of gone into that pretty standard. With black, a little bit more challenging, because with that extra tempo, he could be more ambitious and take the game in a lot of different directions. All right, that's interesting. E6. That's one case where I don't think you really need to defend the center with the pawn, because you can comfortably take back with the knight on d5, because I'm not really going to get a lot of space out of it. Or black is going to get space out of it. I'm not going to be able to push the pawns forward as in a standard Queen's Gambit. For instance, the Marshall variation, the Marshall defense, d4, d5, c4, knight f6. Frank Marshall's worst opening idea, because that pawn sacrifice in the Spanish is a great idea, and he had a gambit in the Slav, which was a pretty good idea, but the other one, knight f6, not such a good idea. So it's, by that standard, bad idea, and objectively not very good for black. There are some traps. I know people who have enjoyed playing it for black just because of its, there's some traps. I say that's hope chess. Not a big proponent of hope chess, but whatever floats your boat. All right, the great thing about this opening is I've been able to play lots of really super, fast moves. Knight d7. He's playing a little bit of artificial way. He hasn't gotten the bishop out. He really well started with e6. He should have put the pawn directly to e5, really. Grab some space. And now the position is a little bit awkward for black. Not necessarily that bad yet. Yeah. So he changed his mind, but he gave me a couple tempi. It's going to be tempi tantrum. Someday my son will watch the video and say, that was really funny, Dad. Let's see. I was going to play 93. I touched it, not a touch move. So, but I'm going to maybe look to put some heat on that e5 pawn. Should I go again? Yeah, why not? Not sure what he's going to do about that. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Makes sense. Wonder why I didn't anticipate that, but okay. I don't know. Maybe I can attack the b5 pawn at some moment. It's loose and could be loose in some tactics. Like bishop f6, queen d3. Maybe I could spear it off of that pawn. Bishop e6. Okay. But now, what is he going to do about this? Because he can't take it with a knight. He gets forked. Well, maybe he can take it, but I think we'll run into some problems. Also, Samurai is running out of time. You have to say, I don't feel like having too many games where I have to beat the clock at the end. All right, what did he do? He took. Okay. Pawn takes. I feel like that should win something, but I don't actually see how it does now. Because this bishop is protecting e5, and I could potentially try to take... As I said, I could potentially try to take the pawn on b5. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should give my bishop on g5 some support. Maybe try to trade those bishops. Well, also he's running out of time. Knight e7. So knight e5. F6, well, I just won't bother worrying about that. I'll play bishop h6, get out of the way, f6. Yeah, he just ran out of time, and he could play f6 in this position, or bishop takes and f6, and yeah, I mean, it's still a fight. But of course, it's a blitz game. You know, that's part of the rules, is that you get 3 minutes, 2 seconds back for each move, and you got to find the moves in a reasonable amount of time. It's part of the game. So, but thanks, Samurai, for a very tough game. All right. Still, I think a ways away from my quotient. You know, every time I think, like, why don't I just, like every time I win a game, why don't I just make a mark so I can see, like how many, how many I've put away, but I never think of doing it. All right, looks like we have a challenge coming in. Ready for my next challenger, Bukowski. All right, I'm pre-moving. Oh, please be there. There we go. Okay. Pre-moving. The ace of defense. I mean, he plays it with d6 and c6 first, but it's even more striking if you move your queen on move 2, I think. I think this is pretty much how he plays it. I speak of Asa Hoffman, that's who I mentioned before. So yeah, I had a similar game before. It's also possible to take on f3 because the bishop on h5, sometimes the bishop kind of gets in the way a little bit. But, if after bishop f3, white is definitely going to have things safeguarded for a long time. So I'm trying to, create some more problems. And it takes an e5. I don't know if that's going to solve problems or not. Yeah, okay, again, I'm going to play bishop g6. It's interesting because technically the white squared bishop for white is the bad bishop, but my bishop on g6 is potentially biting on granite. But, yeah, see, he doesn't want to play f3 so much because of the pawn on is not on H2, and it weakens the G3 square, but it would actually make it a lot easier for him to move his pieces around, because now he's potentially tied down to the E4 pawn. Yeah, if that pawn was on H2, I wouldn't really fancy my position so much after F3. Well, I think this is good to eat. So I'm not really sure how he's going to defend this, but if I don't take it, but okay, you got to take it back. Yeah. I see a lot of times people pausing on those moves, but you gotta start with that. Okay. Well, F3 is one of those moves, he avoided it when he was defending it, but I think if white was going to get anywhere, it would be that to use the exposed position of the bishop on E4. But even then, I think something like rook E1 would even really threaten anything. But I'm sort of happy to move my bishop out of there, and now I get the castle. There are opposite colored bishops on the board, but I don't think they're really a big factor. There are also knights on the board. I mean, if you could get a pure bishops opposite colors position, you might have some chances there. But even so, he's got more weaknesses, like this. The C2 pawn is certainly a potential target, and the C3 pawn is a current target. If he defends it with the bishop, then C2 can drop. So just a lot of, in addition to being pawned down, a lot of problems. Yeah, I was very happy to see D takes E5. That just enabled me to bring that bishop out without any issues. All right, the old rook opposite the queen. Like I said, it's always a good idea. Certainly, at least looks scary. Where did that queen just come from? Could it have gone to E1? Maybe that would have. Oh no, then the C2 pawn is hanging. Yeah, yeah. It's this is where the threat is stronger than the execution, because it's just very unpleasant to be in that situation. Maybe knight B4 is a threat. Yeah. Yeah, I think C4 is actually the best move. It prevents knight B4. And there was really no way to move the queen away. So what I'm going to do is, well, as much as I love this knight, I think I'm just going to simplify here. And maybe just take another goober. I've got 2 pawns in the bank. It's like, for instance, any rook ending is going to be pretty much hopeless. It's really a matter of technique. And also Bukowski is running out of time, which is how I like it. That's how I roll. I run them out of time. Oh, he gave up. Yeah, I mean, not a fun position. But of course, keep in mind, guys, I don't care if you play on positions. Don't feel like you can insult me if you don't resign, because you get your money's worth, even if you're not paying anything today. You pay something some other day, because you might learn something by watching the way my technique or whatever, or what I say about it. So it's fair. I don't mind. I mean, if you're down, like a queen and a rook, it's whatever. You should resign. But otherwise, play on as long as you like. I think sometimes people on Banter Blitz resign too early. I think it's silly. They let me really show them how the game is going to end. All right, let's see who's next. Yep, 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 yep. So I don't know who has watched my my show this week, my GM Joel Chess week recap. If you did, then you know, one of my students made the Grandmaster title, John Michael Burke, just exceptionally talented New Jersey guy, and he lives like an hour south of me, and just really tactical genius, calculating machine, and 16 years old, he made his third Grandmaster Norm. Uh, it's a phenomenal feeling, to have to see a student become a grandmaster, and that's really the first time anybody that I've worked with for a good amount of time is able to get the grandmaster title. And of course, I'm very proud of everything, but I don't want anybody to think that I'm taking too much of the credit for it, because he was really such a talented kid. There was, he was going to be grandmaster as long as it didn't mess him up. But it's really very, very satisfying feeling to see all that progress, and love to have a few more guys get there. I've had a number of players work their way to international master, but this is really special. All right, where is everybody? Anybody? Fishers wanted, no experience necessary. I think that's an Asa Hoffman kibitz as well. I learned a lot from my days in the old Manhattan Chess Club, which of course has not existed now for close to 20 years. But I started there when I was 10 years old, and the chess clubs, they had the old chess clubs had a personality that you don't get at tournaments or online, certainly. All right. Ears again. Maybe somebody else wants a second go around. Looks like second go arounds are available today. We might have a little bit less of a crowd because of the Tata Steel games going on. I don't know. It's it runs in cycles. I've had a lot of months where there were people who just didn't get to play. There were too many people challenging, and sometimes people don't get to play, and then sometimes there's not a lot of response. It fluctuates. All right. So how many games did I get today? How many games did I play? I played 12. Okay. Oh, that's all right. Well, if you guys don't want me, it's okay. All right. Well, anyway, it was fun, and looks like I had a clean sweep, and I don't think that I was in any big danger in any games. So some games are a little bit equalish near the end, or I got a little bit low on time, but I think I was ahead on time near the end of the game in almost every one. So, it's the C3 and Queen C2, or C6 and Queen C7, and just kind of unstoppable, and not really, but next month I'll have to think of something. Got one more. Yeah, okay. All right, bring it on. Let's bring it on. All right. Getting a healthy response from Canada today. We have 1978. All right. I'm wondering if if I had more Canadians than Americans. I don't know. Oh, Canada. All right, so we're getting something a little bit different. In this game, I'm actually playing with the center. And I don't know, I think Aliyev 1978, I think he made that exchange a little bit too quickly because he gave my knight to c3 square. I don't mind the exchange so much, but I think I would try to wait for the knight to go to d2 first. All right, well, he's trying to play some quick moves, and that's not the worst strategy because it's not so easy to come up with the best moves, even if you're thinking hard. But you're definitely going to need your time down the line. So it's fair enough. Yeah, it's not a bad strategy there. Okay, I'll play e5. Mm-hmm. I thought that he might have flicked in bishop f5 before that last move. Ah, I sense an opening here. Chico said the pin she win. So queen c7, not best. Yeah, it would have helped him to get in bishop f5. He would have had other squares for the queen. Also, f6 was playable. Not that this is over, but I think that knight getting to d6 definitely helps me. But still, I feel bad now about talking about this queen sweep, which might not happen. It's not. I don't want to start counting my chickens here. All right, I'm gonna play a slightly strange-looking move. It's a prophylactic move because I think that he's about to play f6 and undermines knight on d6. So I'm moving the bishop away and maybe going to reroute it to b4. Ah, well, that's radical. That's radical, but okay. That's a good pawn for me to take. And now this bishop is very well placed on c4. And e6 is in the air. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should have led with bishop b4, but, well, e6? No, e6 is strong. I had it last move, too. This looks pretty strong. Glad that I got to deal out one more bit of punishment. All right, now I can do it the fancy way here. e7. e7 could be stylish. Yeah, I'm going to go for some style points here. I mean, obviously ef7 is a crushing position, up a couple of pawns, but here I think this is happening, bishop f7. And I think there's various ways to mate, knight g5 or queen b3, which is best. Queen b3 looks, well, that's forced mate. Yeah, knight g5 is also probably forced mate, but this is definitely forced mate. Yeah, I'm glad I had at least one more game because I'm finishing this one in style. Yeah, bishop g5 and queen. Which way? Yeah, just queen check on the diagonal is simplest, and then mate with a pawn. Yeah. The best for last, huh? Clang. Oh, that was fun. Thanks, Aliyev, 1978. Pretty tough game, but that knight b5 really kind of turned the tide. That gave me a very big advantage. Up until then, fairly even game. So, are we going to end there? I think. Yeah, I think we'll end there. That was good. We end on a super high note for me, anyway. I hope that everyone enjoyed absorbing punishment today. um, I hardly ever play chess anymore. I admit it, and it's not because I don't enjoy it. I mean, I really do, but just the way that life intrudes on things. I have two young kids and very involved in their life. I'm sort of a stay-at-home dad right now. I have a lot of responsibilities and even the weekend trips. I just don't feel up to going to those weekend tournaments, competing with a million people, laying out a lot of money. So I do think that I'm going to be returning, much more actively to tournaments at some point. Um, but I just don't really get to play chess of any kind that much anymore. So this is kind of fun for me to deal out the punishment, and I'm glad that everybody keeps coming out month after month to challenge me and to keep it coming. And of course, if I can also educate you guys a little bit on chess while I'm doing it, that's what I do. So I hope that everybody learned a few lessons today. And yeah, that's that. So again, I'm Grandmaster Joel Benjamin. I hope that everyone had fun, and you'll join me again in February for ICC's Banter Blitz.